Joining me now is Representative Mark Pocan. Thanks for taking the time to be with us.
Glad to be here, Sarah.
Let's start now with that video that reportedly showed Representative Derek Van Orden yelling at a group of Senate pages who were taking pictures in the Capitol Rotunda. You've now seen security footage of this incident. There was no sound, but what exactly were you able to see?
Well, I got to see multiple angles. Most of it is what's already been out there. Apparently, Derek had a party in his office that went on till it looks like midnight. He had a tour a little after midnight with about 15 people in the Capitol, and there were some Senate pages that were just wrapping up their service to the Senate that were enjoying the beauty of the Rotunda, much like our state capitol. Some were laying on the ground looking at it like people do at our state capitol. And Derek apparently saw that, went over, berated them, very animated, walked over the rope line. They jumped up right away. He continued to berate them. He followed them as they went to their other friends, continued to berate them. And then on his way back, when he got to his group, he did kind of a curtsy bow, put out his arms and bowed as if he was showing off. And, you know, that doesn't match the story. He said that he was concerned about people lying on the ground where the Civil War soldiers had died, because it used to be a Civil War hospital. I mean, people lay on the floor every day there and take pictures, but that didn't pass the smell test. And sure enough, our guess is that, you know, he had a party with, there were pictures of lots of alcohol that night, and he probably had a few drinks and probably showed off for some people. And the easiest way to resolve that is just to apologize to the Senate pages, apologize now to his constituents for misrepresenting the story. But I thought it was important that, you know, we had a chance, since they couldn't make it public, that at least someone saw it. The parents asked that it not be made public because they're afraid of retribution from people online. But, you know, a member of Congress that should treat their office like an office. It's not a frat party. They should not be showing off and swearing at and yelling at teenage pages, and then you don't act like you're proud of it afterwards.
In a statement to us, Representative Van Orden's office said he, quote, came to Congress to work for the people of Wisconsin's 3rd Congressional District. Right now, he's laser focused on making sure the government doesn't shut down. Is this incident a distraction to Wisconsin lawmakers such as yourself, the representative, the Congressman Van Orden, while there are other major issues to address for our state and our country?
Well, he's not very effective at keeping us from a shutdown, because right now we're going to be here extended days, and it looks like it's very, very likely the Republicans are going to force us into a shutdown come September 30th, which is the end of our fiscal year. So I wish he was successful. I would be happy. But right now, the House Republican majority is having a very hard time governing, even within their own majority. And because of it, you know, America could experience a shutdown, and that has really bad implications for the economy and certainly for federal employees.
Within the last few weeks, Republicans in the Assembly introduced and fast-tracked a new bill that would overhaul how Wisconsin draws its legislative election maps. Last week, we spent some time getting into the bill with lawmakers in both parties. It's expected to head to the Senate now. Republicans indicate they're open to revisions here at the state level. Democrats tell me they don't think this is a serious bill. Do you think there's room for a compromise here on a process that Democrats have wanted to change for years?
Yeah, so elections have consequences, right? And the people in Wisconsin voted by a 200,000 vote margin for Janet Protasiewicz. And apparently that's going to cause a bit of a shift on the court majority. But they now have to hear a case, you know, for the House Republicans, Assembly Republicans, to be saying they're going to actually impeach someone before they've heard a case doesn't pass the smell test, right? It's kind of ridiculous. So they seem to then have pivoted to, okay, we'll do the citizens panel like Iowa, like you've asked for. But then they introduced a bill that even the people in Iowa, Republicans in Iowa, said, don't call that the Iowa model, because it's not. You're taking out the judiciary at the very end if the legislature can't decide, and they're trying to stack it that the current gerrymandered legislature would still ultimately decide maps. Again, people in Wisconsin are way smarter than this. I think, you know, the Republicans in the legislature just have to understand elections have consequences. And if the court decides to hear the case, they better make their best case. But you don't try to just kick someone out who hasn't even heard a single legal case, because people understand how unfair and how ridiculous that would be.
You spent a lot of time in the state legislature, so this bill could be amended. It could be improved. Don't you think Democrats could, down the line, introduce some of the changes that they'd like to see in the Republican authored bill?
The Republicans won't vote for any changes. Robin Voss has been very clear on what he's proposing, and it would be naive to think that a bunch of Republicans are suddenly going to vote differently, given all the statements that we've heard out there. Look, there was a time to do that, and they rejected a real plan like Iowa's prior to the census and the redistricting of this decade. So now they should just focus on what they need to focus on. There are plenty of needs. I know the governor's just tried to gavel them in around childcare, and they didn't even go to session. They immediately gavelled out. There's real things that they can do in the legislature, but trying to, impeach someone who hasn't heard a case or put a fake plan out there that even, people, Republicans in Iowa are saying it's not our plan. I mean, those things are all just distractions, and they really should just get to the work they need to get done.
Assembly Speaker Voss is at the center of some major conversations right now, not just redistricting, but he also recently said the UW system needs to cut its diversity, equity, and inclusion positions or sacrifice the pay raises that were included in the new budget that the Finance Committee passed, Governor Evers signed. Have you spoken with the speaker recently? Do you have any insight into his actions here, either on redistricting or DEI?
Yeah, so Robin's a friend, and I think there is a place to find compromise with the university, but it's going to take some conversations and getting to know people. We have a new chancellor at UW-Madison. I was hoping to be a part of that over the August break. Unfortunately, I was traveling, and others were traveling during that time. But I think resolution can happen, and we can do what's in the best interest of the university, as well as address the current legislative majority's concerns. So I'm hopeful on that one. I just think some more conversations will need to happen. But, it's really important that we build a new engineering building in particular. A lot of money has been raised for that. And I think we can still get that done for sure at the end of the day. I think there is some goodwill out there. I just think that there were some concerns that were lingering, and we just need to get that figured out.
As you talked about the conversations and compromise that could be had for the DEI positions within the UW system and pay raises, I just wanted to ask again, have you spoken with Speaker Voss about this personally?
Yeah, he and I have tried to set up a dinner in August. He was in Ireland, I was in Nepal, he was in Utah, I'm in DC. We're trying to schedule something. We have kept a dialogue open since I've left the legislature, and that's a good thing. Democrats and Republicans need to be able to talk. That's how you get things done, and he's very willing to. That's why I said I'm optimistic that good things can still happen on this front. But it's just there's new leadership at the university. There are a lot of issues during the budget that happen in general with the state. I am still hopeful, and I'm very glad to be a part of those conversations.
Representative Mark Pocan, thanks for joining the show this morning.
Sure, thank you.